In this video, I'm going to show you how I built this Shopify order tracking AI chatbot in just 3 steps. You'll see exactly how I used Voiceflow and Streamline connector to connect everything. No coding, no fluff. So stick around, I'll walk you through it step by step so you don't waste hours figuring it out like I did. All right, let's jump into step 1, setting up the conversation flow inside Voiceflow. Now, I always design the conversation flow prior to open Voiceflow in Canva, whiteboards, or something like that with the help of ChatGPT. So if this part is messy, your chatbot will confuse people, and confused customers don't buy. Plus, when you design the conversation flow first, development becomes 10 times easier. You won't waste time jumping back and forth. You'll know exactly what to build and where everything goes. All right, let's open up Canva and start designing the conversation flow. Since this is only for order tracking, it's going to be a very short conversation flow. Let's start. I've logged into Canva and let's create a new whiteboard. Let's start with the greeting message, obviously. So this is going to be a greeting. So after that, we can have some kind of a main menu to show some options. So let's say menu here. And after that, according to the options, we can have some intents defined here. So in this case, order tracking is going to be our intent. But in a real scenario, it's not going to be just one order tracking. It will have other intents as well, like let's say product recommendations and FAQs and things like that. In this case, we are going to just work on this order tracking intent. In Voiceflow side, this first part is going to be the start flow. So let me mark that in another color. This part from here marked in green, it's going to be a separate workflow specifically for order tracking. So here first we'll show another message to user, and next we'll get the input from the user, which is going to be email address that they use to put the order, and next we'll retrieve the order info using Streamline connector. So after this step, retrieving the order info, there can be two paths. One is for success and the other one is if something goes wrong and the system couldn't retrieve an order for that given email address. So this is going to be success path. In that case, we'll display the order or orders, and here is going to be failure path, and in this case we'll display an error message and ask them to retry. Okay, now let's go through the success path. Now we have displayed the orders here. Now we can drive them back to the main menu to take any other action that they want. So here's the overall simple conversation flow that we are going to build. Next, we'll go to Voiceflow and start building. In each and every step here, there are going to be messages, and we'll use ChatGPT to write those messages for us. So here, for example, it's going to be a greeting message. So we'll use ChatGPT to write those messages according to the tone and voice that we want. So we are done with this one. We'll come back to this while we are building. So let's move on to Voiceflow and start building the chatbot. All right, I've logged into my Voiceflow account, and you can see all the projects here. If you're new to Voiceflow and chatbot building, I've included the link below in the description. Use that link to sign up, and you can create your own account and start building for free. So here we are going to start from the beginning. Let's start with creating a new project by going here and clicking on this button. Let's give it a name. Let's call it order tracking agent, and we'll select the basic template. We are not going to use any of these predefined templates. So let's select basic template and create the project. Okay, here we are. Let's close this chatbot, and we don't need any of these. So let's click on this and click on delete button. And now we have a blank canvas. We can start building. So the first thing we have to build is, let's go back to the conversation flow and have a look. So first one is going to be the greeting. So let's go back here and let's go under talk and put a message here, and we can start typing now. So as we discussed earlier, we are going to use ChatGPT to write these conversation messages for us. So let's go to ChatGPT. So I'm on my ChatGPT account now. Let's give it a prompt to generate the messages that we want. Let's start with, you are a conversation flow designer specializing in AI chatbots. Your job is to design conversation flows and messages for Illuma Skin, which is a skincare e-commerce brand. First, let's start with a greeting message to welcome the customers. Keep a friendly, warm, and welcoming tone throughout. All right, so let's see. Hi there, welcome to Illuma Skin, where glowing skin begins. That's a great opening. I'm your AI skin assistant, here to help you find perfect products, answer your questions, or guide you through your order. How can I help you with today? All right, this is perfect. So let's go back to the conversation flow. So we are here. Let's go to here and copy these messages. So this is going to be the first message that the users see. I always like to keep the messages in separate message boxes, so it'll make it easy for the users to see properly and understand. And this one now, what can I help you with today? Okay, let's put it at the same block. So this one box is called a block. So let's call it welcome. Now here we are asking the question, what can I help you with today? So next one, as you can see, now we are at the second step here, where we will give some options to users to select from. So this is basically going to be the main menu. So for that, we'll take a new block, rename it to main menu, and go back to ChatGPT and copy these messages. All right, great. So as you can see, we have already given other options like find the right skin product, ask a question, talk to a human. But as we said earlier, we are going to work on this track my order option only. So let's go back to Canva, and we are done up until this step. So next what we have to do is we have to create an intent and another workflow to handle the order tracking workflow. So let's go back to Voiceflow and create a new intent and workflow now. So here, as you can see, we are in the start workflow. You can see by going into here content, and you can see workflows. Here we have other things as well, like agents, tools, intents, entities, messages, and everything. So if you go to messages, you can see all the messages that we created so far. So let's go to workflows, and as you can see, this is the start workflow. If you click on that and edit workflow, this is where we were a second ago. So let's go back to the workflows, and here we have to create a workflow for order tracking. But before that, we'll go to intents and create a intent for order tracking. Those who are new to chatbot building and voice flow specifically, let me quickly explain what intents are. Think of an intent as the goal or purpose behind what the user is saying. For example, if someone says, I want to track my order, or where's my package, they're not just saying words. Their intent or purpose is to track an order. In Voiceflow, intents help your chatbot understand the user's goal or purpose so it can respond the right way by picking up the right workflow. So why is this important? Because without intents, your chatbot will not know what to do with different ways people ask the same thing. So basically, they're the key to building helpful human-like chatbots. Let me show you what I mean by this. So let's go back to Voiceflow and go to the start workflow. And as you can see, we have several options here, right? So find the right skincare product, track my order, ask a question, talk to a human, and things like that. So each of these options are going to have its own intent. So for example, for track my order, we have to create an intent and train the chatbot or LLM to know, okay, if somebody types something similar to track my order or where's my package or something like that, the LLM will know, okay, this user is talking about tracking an order. You'll get a clear understanding when we actually build this. So let's go back to intents and start building. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. The main menu, actually, it shouldn't be a message. These options have to be buttons. So let's change that first and continue from where we left off. So let me quickly change that. To add buttons, we can go to listen step here and drag this button option and put it under here. And we can add buttons using this plus icon here. So let's type, okay, let's copy this one first, track my order. Let's go back here and paste it. Let's add another. Okay, so I'm not going to do everything. Let's just copy one or two more. All right, we are done. So let's remove these options from this one, and we are done. Let's go back to intents and create an intent for order tracking. As you can see, there are two intents already. It has been already trained for yes and no. So let's create our own intent by clicking on this button here, new intent, and we'll name it order tracking. And description here is very important. This is basically we are giving a description when to trigger this intent. So let's say something like trigger this intent when a customer wants to know about their order status. So here we have to give as many phrases as possible to train the LLM to know when to trigger this intent. Where is my package? I want to check my order status. You can type in a couple of messages here and use AI to generate similar phrases. So let's generate 10 more. Let's go through and see if those are what we actually want. Can you help me track my order? That is good. I need to find out where my package is. I want to track my recent purchase. Where's my delivery? It all seems good. So let's create the intent, and as you can see, confidence score is 100 out of 100 points, so that is good. If you see this is less than 100, you have to put more phrases, similar phrases here. So there's nothing much for you to do. You can just generate new phrases and go through the list and make sure everything matches. We have completed creating an intent. Now the next part, what we have to do is we have to create a workflow specifically to handle this intent, which is the order tracking. So let's go to workflows here and click on new workflow. Let's give it the same name, order tracking workflow. Description is optional, so we are not going to give that. Let's just create a workflow. Now the workflow has been created, and you can see we have only the trigger here. What we have to do next is click on this trigger, and we have to tell the system when to trigger this workflow. So you can see the triggers here. Click on this plus icon here. We can select intent or an event. In this case, we created a separate intent, so we'll select intent, and as you can see, the order tracking intent we just created. So let's create that, and we are done. So we can start designing this workflow to handle the rest of the workflow that we designed, which is, so we are here right now. We've created this order tracking intent, and we are going to build the rest of this part now. First, we have to show an opening message, then we have to collect the input, which is the email address. Let's go to Voiceflow and build that. So as this part you already know, get a message. Now we need a message. So let's go to ChatGPT and say something like, we are at the start of the order tracking workflow. Write an opening message. Got it. Let's check on your order. That is good. Let's grab this one and go here, put that message. Let's go back here. We don't need a few details. We just need one input, which is the email address. So we'll change it here. I just need your email address to get started. Put another message like, please enter your email address that you use to put the order. What we have to do next is to capture the input. So let's drag it out here, and we can go to the listen step, and what we need is the capture step. Let's open it up. This time we can actually use an entity, which is going to be the email address, or we can actually capture the entire user reply. But I think in this case it's going to be easy for us to capture the email address. So let's select entity and create that entity. Let's say user email, and the data type is going to be email type, and we can create an entity. Entity is basically like a variable. So after creating the entity, we need to configure reprompt. So let's generate just one is going to be enough. Let's talk about free prompts when capturing entities in Voiceflow. Uh, Now, in this case, we ask a user what is your email address is, right? But if they didn't give a proper or clear answer or say something random, that's where reprompts comes in. A reprompt is a follow-up message your chatbot says when it didn't get the info it needs. So for example, in this case, the bot is going to say, can you please provide your email address so we can update your user profile? That is not actually what we want. Let's try generating 3 more. Can you please repeat your email address for us to update your user profile? Okay, it's talking about the user profile. We don't need that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your email address. Could you please say it again? Just to clarify, what is your email address so we can update? Okay, we don't need this. This is good enough. So we can actually put something like this. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you share your email again? So all right, so now you know what reprompts are, and reprompts are mandatory when it comes to an entity. So make sure you configure that in here. So let's talk about the other options we have here. So we have no reply. We can use this option when the user didn't enter a reply and be idle for some time. We don't really need to do that here. So listening to other intents, you know what a intent is now. So order tracking is one intent, and we have a couple of other intents. We didn't create them, of course, but in any system you're going to have other intents. So if we allow this, what the chatbot is going to do is it's gonna be listening to other intents as well. In this case, we don't really need to listen to any other intents, so we'll disable that one. The user will not be able to move forward without entering a valid email. Under rules, we can actually define that. We can say something like make sure to capture a valid email address before you move to the next steps. So rules are something that you can use to make sure that we capture the exact input that we want to move forward. So with that, I think we are done with capturing the email address. Before we move on to the next steps, let's test the entire flow. We can run the chatbot by pressing on this run button here. So let's go ahead and choose track my order. Okay, so we haven't connected the path to continue on. So what we have to do is, you can see these dots are red. That means the path is not being configured. So let's go back to the canvas and configure that. So you can go to actions down here and find go to intent step, and from here you can see the order tracking workflow, and inside there we have the intent order tracking. Let's select that and we are done. We can now run the chatbot again and check the entire workflow. So let's click on that button again, track my order. So as you can see, we are on the order tracking flow right now. It gives us the opening message. Got it. Let's check on your order. I just need your email address to get started. So let's open up the properties panel here. What you can do is, you can see this a little bar here. You can click on that. It will open up the properties. And right here is the variable that we created for the email address, user email. Right now it's empty. So let's enter the email address. Let's say something like, my email address is on the at gmail.com. Now it should update the email address here. As you can see, Aranda at gmail.com, it's captured the email address, even though we entered an entire string with my email address is. So it's working fine. Let's go back to the flow and see where we are right now. So we have completed up until here now. That means we are done with the step number 1, which is setting up the conversation flow. Now we have to move on to the second step in the entire process before we start working on this one. Now let's move on to step 2, connecting your Shopify store to Voiceflow using the Streamline Connector app. This tool makes the integration super simple. No need to mess with APIs or backend code. Just few clicks and you're good to go. To keep it easy, I'm going to break this step into 3 mini steps. Just follow along and you'll have your chatbot connected to Shopify in minutes. All right, I've logged into my Shopify store. I created a demo Shopify store. If you don't know how to do it, you can search on YouTube and do it. It's very easy. I've also created a couple of products as well for the demo purpose. And I've created an order as well. Let me show you with my details as a customer. The first step is to install the app Streamline Connector. So for that, we can go to apps on to the left, click on that and search for Streamline Connector. So right here, this is the app we want, a Streamline Connector, agent optimization. So we can click on install, which will start the installation process. So here again, we have to click on install. Once the app is installed, you can see the app is available in the left pane. We can just pin it, and so we don't have to search for the app whenever we want to open it up. So the first step is done, installing Streamline Connector app. Let's move on to step number 2, where we set it up and send the orders and products to the Voiceflow. That means we are basically connecting our store here with Voiceflow. So to do that, you can come under here, integrations. You can see Voiceflow. There are other platforms that is Streamline Connector supports, like WordPress, Zapier, and things like that. Let's click on that and start configuring. So in this screen, you can see Connect Voiceflow Agent. Let's click on that. There are 2 inputs that we need API key and the agent name. So let's go to Voiceflow and grab these two inputs. So here we are back in Voiceflow. What we have to do is we have to go to interfaces here, and you can see API keys available here. You just have to go in there and copy the agent key, which is the API key. We can go back to the Shopify store and paste the API key right here. And next we need the agent name. Let's go back and check the agent name. Here's the agent name, order tracking agent. Go back to Shopify and paste the agent name and click on connect button, which will connect a streamline connector to our Voiceflow agent. So the second step done, which is the configuration or setup. The final step is to send data to Voiceflow. Let's see how to do that. Now we have our connection here. We can click on this three dots and click on manage data, and you can see send button up here. Click on that and click on send products. We can send pages as well, like your shipping info and privacy policy and whatever the pages that you have to send to Voiceflow. We can send it using this one by providing the URL. So let me explain a little bit what happens here. When we send data, this is automatically creating a knowledge base on Voiceflow side and sending all the data to your Voiceflow knowledge base. Before we send the product information or product data, let's go back to Voiceflow and check our knowledge base. So here you can find knowledge base option here, and as you can see, we don't have any data sources as of yet. Let's go back here and send the products. So here first you have to give it a name. This is the name that's gonna appear on Voiceflow side in the knowledge base. So let's say Shopify products, and we'll send all the active products. We have only 2 products. And next, select your searchable fields required. You can leave it as it is, but it's always a good idea to get the price as well. And the rest you can leave the defaults, and then click on this confirm and save button. Now as you can see, it says upload in progress, and you can see the status here, Shopify products. So the status is success. Let's go back to Voiceflow and check what has happened in the knowledge base. So here, let's give it a refresh. And as you can see, the knowledge base data source has been created with the same name, Shopify products. And you can see the status is success. What you can do is you can click on this and see all the chunks that has been created, and we can test it by going into preview here and ask a question. Let's ask, what are the products you have, and let's see what the answer it gives. Okay, we have the 2 products, so it's working fine. So with this, we have successfully connected Shopify with Voiceflow. As you can see, it was very simple, and with that we have completed the second step, which is setting up the streamlined connector and connecting Shopify with Voiceflow. So let's move on to the final step now. Now the final step, setting up the function that actually checks the order status. I'll be honest, this part gave me a headache first. I couldn't find the function in my Voiceflow project. Turns out it wasn't there by default. I had to download the actual function file, then upload it manually to my Voiceflow project. So in this part, I'll walk you through exactly how I fixed it step by step. And if you have found a better way to do this, please let me know in the comments. I'm always learning too. By the end of this, you'll have a working function that fetches order details and responds in real time. Your chatbot will feel like magic. All right, I'm on Voiceflow now, and this is the starting workflow. You already know that. So let's go to order tracking workflow. We can click on this intent and press this icon to go in. And as you can see, we delete this one. Here we have already built the flow up until the part where we collect the email address from the user. Let's go to the conversation flow that we designed and see where we are and what we have to do next. We are here. We've completed this part. So the next part is retrieve the order info using the streamline connector. We have set up the streamline connector already. Now let's go to the flow and configure this part. So to retrieve the order information, we need to use a function. The problem is I couldn't find that function in the streamline connector itself. So let's see how we can get this done. To show you what's happening here, let me go to the streamline connector app and go to the main screen. Now here we have already completed the integration part. Now these are the APIs available. The API that we want is get orders function, or the API. Let's go inside, and as you can see, it gives the endpoint URL and the shop ID, which are going to be the inputs for the API call. The problem I faced here was I couldn't find the function anywhere in the no details about the function or anything, how we can actually call this API and get the information. So I went online to YouTube and try to figure it out. I found this YouTube video from Voiceflow, and there was a template, and using that template I was able to download the function, import it into my project. So I already downloaded that function. Let me show you. So I have the function downloaded here. I'll include this JSON file in the description. You can go there and download it. Now let me show you how we can import this into our project. So let's go back to Voiceflow. The next step is a function. So it's under dev, and you can find this function here. Let's drag it on to here, and if you click on this, we can create a function, or we can search for already built, already available functions in the community. In there as well, I couldn't find this function. So let's just create a function. Just close this, and now here we can choose the functions that are already in our project. As you can see, this is the one that we just created. Other than that, we don't have any functions. So what we have to do is we have to go to content, and under tools, that's where we have to upload the functions. Click on tools, and here we have import option. So let's import that. Here it is. Select that function, which is called retrieve streamline order, and open it. Import. Now you can see that function is available inside our project. So let's go back to the workflow, order tracking workflow, and we can select that function here now because we already imported that function into our project. So let's just select this one and configure the settings for that function call. So let's go through one by one. For inputs, we need a request URL, which is the endpoint of the API that we saw on the streamline connector side. I'll show you how to get it. And the other input we have to give is the email address of the user that's been used to put the order. So these are the output variables. We'll come to this soon, but before that we'll configure the input variables. So let's go to Shopify and get this request URL first. So again, I'm on get orders screen here. If you don't know how to get it, if you go to the main screen, you can see available APIs. Get orders is what we want, and this is the endpoint URL. But you have to come down here, crafting your endpoint. There are two ways that we can retrieve orders. One is you can input just the email and retrieve all the active orders under that email address. Or the second option is we can retrieve a specific order by passing the order number. So in this case, I'm going to use this one, passing the email. Grab this URL, which is the request URL or the endpoint URL, and go to Voiceflow and paste that URL here. Now we have a couple of changes that we have to do in this URL. So let's see how to do that. Let's go back to this screen, and here we have to pass two variables in the URL itself. One is email address and the other is shop ID. We don't need the order number because we are not using this specific endpoint URL to retrieve a specific order. So for this one, we need to replace here email. As you can see, the email address is a sample one, user@example.com. We have to replace this with our user's email address, and the shop ID is a sample shop ID as well. You can find your shop ID in the same screen here. You just have to copy that and paste it here. So let's just do that first. Shop ID, let's copy that and go here and go to the end of the URL and remove this shop ID, sample shop ID, and paste our shop ID here. Now the other one is we have to replace the email address. What we have to do is we have to input the user email address here, which will assign it to this variable called email. So let me show you first. So here, to select a variable, start with opening curly brackets and its user email. So that's the email address that we collected from the user. You can see that here is the step that we collect the email address from the user. The variable is user email. So now what we are saying here is the user's email address will be assigned to this variable called email. Now this email has to be passed in this URL itself. So let's go to the email section and delete this sample email address and give this email as the variable here to pass the email address to the Shopify site. So to do that, you have to type $sign and opening curly braces and then type email, which is the variable that has user's email ID. I hope you can see it properly. The value is $sign and email within the curly braces. So we are done configuring the endpoint URL with that one, and we have configured the other input as well, which is the email address. Hope you guys clear on this one. With that, we can move on to configuring the output variable mappings. So to do that, these are the variables that are coming from, now this is input variables, that means we are sending details from Voiceflow to Shopify side. All right, now once we send the email address, it will send us all the details about the orders that are under that email address. So we have to capture those incoming variables from Shopify side. So that's what we have to do here. So let's check order status URL. We don't have to assign this to anything. The function inside this will be handled. So total price, let's create a variable on our side, on Voiceflow side, to capture the total price. So to do that, let's create a variable called total price, create it, and let's create a variable for order name as well, order name. So with that, we have completed configuring the function. Now let's go ahead and connect the entire flow and start testing. Connect this one after collecting the user email address. Run this function to get the details, and if it is success, we can give it a success message. Can go to talk, a success message. We can say something like, here are your most recent orders. Creating the carousel and everything will be handled in this function, so we don't have to worry about anything. We just have to handle the success path and error path. So that's what we are doing right here. Success path, we are displaying a message. Let's change the color to a green because it's the success path, and let's configure an error path. So let's just say I couldn't find an order link to that email address, and let's give the email address here, the user email, and let's mark this one with red color because it's the failure path. And let's put another message down here asking if they want to retry the retrieval. So would you like to retry with a different email, or contact support, or you can go back to the main menu. Next, we'll grab some buttons. One button would be retry, and the other one is go to main menu. Okay, so if they select retry, we can go back to this block where we collect the user email address again, and if it is the main menu, we can go to actions and go to a specific block. We'll go to start workflow and main menu. Now here as well, we can send them back to the main menu. So with that, we have actually completed the entire flow. Let me show you. Now we have completed this one where we configured the function, and this is the success path, and this is the failure path where we give them the option to retry. So the entire flow has been implemented on Voiceflow side. Now what we can do is we can test this one. So let's just click on this play button and enter the email address, run the gmail.com, and you can see it's fetching the orders and it is displaying in a carousel. We have only one order with this email address, so that's why it's showing one order here, but it's fetching the image, order, and order number and order status as well. So when you click on this view order, it will take you to that specific order on Shopify side, like so. And so that order tracking workflow is working fine. Let's just test the entire flow before we end this tutorial. Let's close this and come up to this run button and click on run. So we can click on track my order button and give another email address that I put an order with, janedosample@gmail.com. And as you can see, it's the order number and the status fulfilled, and it is showing you the main menu after that. So from here, the user can take any action they want. If you have any questions or if you can't find answers, if you get stuck somewhere in the process, just let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to help you guys out. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out. I'll be sharing more advanced voice flow, chatbot building, and AI automation stuff soon, so stick around. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.